What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Fit, Healthy, and most of all, Happy podcast. I'm your coach and host, Josh, here with
his co-host and co-coach, KG, and I'm in the house.
We got a killer episode as always, so get ready to continue a really great day or a really great night, whatever time it is for you. We got a jam-packed episode, and we're going to kick it off with Coach Kyle's quote.
My quote this week is, self-love is holding yourself to a higher standard than anybody else does. And I really like this because the word self-love gets thrown out everywhere. You hear so many different things about it, and a lot of times people obviously say go easy on yourself, love yourself, and whatever it is that they say. But one of the best things is just being able to look at yourself and know how much potential you have and hold yourself, as the quote says, to a very high standard. And there will always be those people who just say, take it easy. And I do think that there is that part of self-love that does need to be thought of and respected. But at the same time, I love the concept of just like pushing yourself to your capability, not being easy on yourself. And like in terms of just like knowing how much potential you have. And just to me, that's self-love, like taking care of yourself, getting great sleep, great recovery, great nutrition, great overall health, and really prioritizing that. To me, that's what self-love is, and I just wanted to share that as my quote for this week.
Yeah, before even I've said self-love is self-discipline, like doing that higher level thing that you know will be good for you. And in those moments, it can be so easy to listen. Like even if you think of the two voices in your head, you'll have your higher mind and your lower mind. And when you first get up in the morning, you have your lower mind saying, just stay in bed, don't worry about it, put it off, deal with it later. But when we have that higher mind, it's like jump out of bed, get after it. And we know when we do that, we end up feeling more groggy. We feel less rested. It puts us behind in our day. Maybe we miss breakfast. We're rushing out to work. You get an accident. You get pulled over for speeding. Like these things can actually lead to be worse. And oftentimes it's easy to confuse self-love with things that are actually bad for you. Like it is not self-loving to destroy yourself in negative ways and bring your body down. And if you actually think about it, self-love is doing that harder thing, and self-love sometimes is doing things you enjoy. There's nothing wrong like with having a good dessert, or you shouldn't always just be living a life with no enjoyment whatsoever, but it's doing it in control. So if you want to have a dessert, fit into your macros, enjoy that, enjoy every bite. It's going to feel great. And then instead of having like 80 bites of something, it'll taste the same after the first 3 bites to where you're going to feel horrible, have a stomach ache. And even for me, I've been trying to be aware of my caffeine lately. Every morning I have a coffee. I love that feeling, that caffeine high. You just feel focused, you feel energized, you feel just absolutely incredible. But of course, that is being done by a stimulant, and that isn't like a natural feeling. But I notice even me, like I'll just want more coffee in the morning because I'll be like, I want more of this. But I've been really trying to be like, I'm going to enjoy that cup. I'm going to enjoy the alertness I feel from it, and I'm going to leave it there. Because usually when I have the second one, I feel too much, feel too wired. My caffeine's through the roof. It can affect my sleep later in the day. So to me, it's like, even though I think I want it, I know I actually don't. And I feel better not doing it. Just the same in the morning. A lot of times I'll wake up and I'll like, oh, I don't want to go on a walk, but I always feel better getting out on that walk, being mindful of it. And I just think that has been really, really good. So amazing quote. That's something I've been thinking on as well. Just the same at night, I'm like, I can read a book or I could just watch Netflix. And then Netflix is like so tempting. If you don't cut off that time, you can keep watching one more episode. You're in bed super late. Like you can see how things can ripple. And a lot of times making those higher level decisions and doing them constantly actually makes it easier to keep making them. So just great examples through and through. We'll always use the one of getting to bed early. Means you'll be up early, where if you get to bed late, you'll be up late. So you can really apply this any which way. My quote is a good one. It's nice, a simple one. Might surprise you. So my quote is, yes, you should quit. Quit quitting. And that really just hit me. Like when it was done too, it was said a little bit differently. It was, yes, you should quit effing quitting. But it definitely a little bit more of an intense way of saying it. But it's a great point. Like if you're someone who quits on things that are actually helping you and moving you forward, you're not doing yourself any services. And it can just be so easy to quit when things get hard, or when you get to that point where you've been in the gym for 2 weeks, you feel good, and you're like, oh, this is getting hard. I don't want to do this. That's where you got to be stronger than ever. That's where you got to buckle down. If you've started tracking your food, those moments where it's inconvenient, that's where you need to stop quitting on what you're doing and find ways to succeed through it. So this is a very simple quote, but I think it's a powerful quote you can keep in the back of your head. And when I heard this, it just hit me like a brick, and it's something I've really been looking to apply into my life.
I really like that. I'm pondering on that one. I'm like, quit quitting. I really do like that. And honestly, I think a lot of people can learn from these ones. And just like one last note for my quote is just like, when you do think of the amount of people that hold you to a very high standard, like truthfully, there's not that many. And that's why, like, I just really, once I was listening to whatever I was listening to that I got this from, I was like, I had to pause for a second. I was like, man, that is so true. And it brought me back to like so many times in my life where there would be people around me, especially this specific scenario when I was at a work maybe 10 years ago. And I used to work pretty hard, harder than I was told that I was supposed to. And there was just people around me be like, Kyle, stop working so hard. Like, just chill out for a bit. Like for them, they'd be like, that's self-love. But for me, I'm like, no, I'm trying to build up, my work ethic, my discipline, my habits. Like that's just me. Like that self-love is like me pushing myself and challenging myself. And it just kind of reminded me how there will always be these people around us, even who, let's say someone sees you going to the gym a little too much and they'd be like, oh, and like, no, you don't have to. But it's just, it's something that was really on the top of my head. And obviously between my quote and Josh's quote, just spend a few minutes like within your day today or tomorrow when you get a chance and think like, how can I apply this to my life and how does this relate to my life? And that's the best part about these quotes is it can change. It can apply today. It may not apply today. Maybe a month from now it will, but take note of it, learn from it. And I think it can definitely inspire you in some way or another.
110%. Now we're going to go ahead and jump into our thoughts this week. And I've been trying to be really up to date on a lot of different content, podcasts, books, just been trying to get a lot of extra motivation going into the fall. And it seems like the one theme I've seen in a lot of what I've been watching this week is about the point of like always being productive and self-growth and pushing, and these are great things, but people can take them too far where they become robotic and they suck the joy out of everything, and it becomes a walk just for the purpose of getting the benefits of that walk, of feeling better, of feeling refreshed, of burning calories, of doing sports just so you get steps on your watch, or you can track your workouts or share it with your friends. I know a lot of people like those social platforms and whatnot, and just the same, like doing all your self-growth stuff just to let people know you do it on Instagram or for you to get the benefits of journaling. And I thought it was a good point because sometimes even for me, you can look through like itemizing your day and just doing things for the sake of doing them or doing them for the wrong reasons. And a lot of different people that I listened to said that this week they've really been mindful to do things and enjoy them for what they are. So even for the gym, like really just to take that time to enjoy being in the gym, to know why you're doing it, to feel the contractions, to turn a task that maybe you don't look forward to as much and make it a really special time. So one example that was listed was the concept of only saving certain music that you love only for when you work out. So it can make it that much more motivated to just be in there, to do it, and to do it for the right reasons and to look forward to it, and not just to be like start completion. Because if you're always living in the moment ahead and you're not really enjoying what you do, it takes away from the quality of it. So I just thought it was a really good reminder and a good thing to kind of think of. And even for me, like an exercise I've been doing to enjoy my walks is I try to find 3 new things I've never noticed before. So it could be like a roof that had really weird shingles today. I noticed this one tree had apples finally. Like it's the first time I noticed it. And there was something else I can't remember, but it kind of made me really appreciate and be present in that walk. And we've spoken before about the concept of presence and doing things that you like and enjoy, and finding ways to make sure you're not just going checklist and not enjoying those tasks or getting the most out of them. So a lot of different thought around here, but that's just something I wanted to share. And I think it's a good reminder to make sure you're enjoying every moment. You're not looking ahead, pulling yourself from the enjoyment of that moment for other reasons. It can obviously be hard to do, but the more you can appreciate even the mundane, the simple parts of your day, the more it can make your day really amazing. We've said it before that there's so much to be grateful for. Like in any moment, even if you're absolutely bored, you're in a waiting room at the doctor's, you're doing nothing, you could be thankful that you're safe. Like there's not some crazy environmental disaster outside. Hopefully not. At least you could be thankful that you're fed, you have water. Like there's so many layers to this. And it's a good reminder just to enjoy those simple moments of life, to really just make the most of things, even if you're doing them for a result, to not always just attribute it to that result, but to enjoy the beauty of the act as well.
Honestly, the fact that Josh brought that up is amazing, because I was just I posted the other day on Instagram on our story, but also on Threads, just about how perspective is everything. Mindset is everything. And there's actually a photo that I have in front of me. It's going to be on YouTube if you are watching. And it essentially says, life is 90% how you choose to look at things. And there's a graphic, and there's essentially 2 things going on. It either says, you matter, don't give up, or you don't matter, give up. And it just says, it depends. Like, which one do you choose? And I just thought it was pretty crazy how there could be two things being said at once, and then there would be, let's say, 50% of people who'd be like, okay, I'm gonna give up. Like Josh said, don't quit, don't give up. But then there will be the other people who read it and just be like, man, that's so true. Like, you do matter. Like, don't give up, keep going. And to me, that just says everything just about our mindset, about perspective. And it's just like pretty wild how we can train our minds to think these things. And especially just from a mindset perspective, like we might just be like, oh, well, it says to give up, I may as well give up. And I know it's just a photo, I know it's just, a little graphic, but it means a lot when you think about it. Cause I'm like, man, it is just the way that you look at these things means everything. And my other thought that I had as well is just the power of new normal and how crazy that is. And I got inspired about this because this morning, one of our awesome clients posted in the Facebook group and he was saying, hey, how many days do you work out? And originally when I started typing, well, I actually did say this. I said, or how many rest days do you have? He asked. I said 0 rest days, but 2 days off from strength training. And I just thought it was cool because I started to reflect back on my journey of just like what my rest days used to look like. So on Sunday and then either Friday or Saturday, always a Sunday, and then Friday or Saturday will change based off the week and what I'm doing. And it used to look like nothing. Like I would not go for walks. I would say I'm resting, I'm just going to chill out. And ever since Florida, when we started to go for 10,000 steps every day, I haven't missed a day. Like maybe there's been one day, no matter what, like my rest day is still super active. I'll go play volleyball, I'll go on a nice hike. And it's just amazing when you think of like how your body and your mind and everything adapts to a new normal. And for a lot of you, you may think like, man, there's no way I'm ever going to get to 5 strength training days per week or get to this level or build this new habit. But essentially you just get to a point where it becomes your new norm, your new normal, and you just do it. You don't even think about it. And if you are struggling, if you are looking to just build up these habits, like spend time just getting used to it, keep building, and eventually just gets to a point where it's just like it's what you're used to. And that's my main thing I wanted to share and that I was inspired by this week.
110%. I think those are really, really good points, and perspective is everything. And I think it's a good reminder, even when you feel like you have less going down or there's mundane moments, like you can turn any moment or even a hard thing or a challenge you're going through, instead of woe is me, you can always say like, there's an opportunity for me to grow, to be better, to develop. And I think that really comes full circle and that all connected really nicely. So those are our thoughts for this week. We always like to kind of share what's top of our mind, what's going on in our journeys, and hope that everyone can relate and gain something from it. And now we're going to go ahead and showcase a client success story, someone who's been crushing it, who's been able to overcome the things that held them back so they could see the results they deserve through our online coaching. So who do we have this week, Kyle?
So this week we have Mike, who's been working with Coach Jason, and he's lost just about 20 pounds, and he's just looking phenomenal. He's super happy. His confidence is up. He came to us wanting to improve his mobility, lose fat, build muscle, and he's done all that and so much more in such a short amount of time. And it's inspiring. Honestly, as always, we can learn something from every single person. If you are watching on YouTube, you can see some of his tips as well. And if not, you can also check out our Instagram. So every week on Monday, we post the transformation, what they have to say about working with us, as well as just a bunch of tips to help inspire you. And as I said about those quotes, like don't just go about your day and just keep going and just be like, okay, cool, I'm motivated. Like actually take a few minutes, similar to what Josh was saying, like be present, like think about these things. Like this is how, in my personal opinion, you get the best results, the best success. Like taking one of these things that Mike has to say, which you'll see on the post, and being like, man, that is so true. Like pre-login's everything, just like these little things when you think about it, when you apply it, when you spend time to actually slow down a little bit, I find it can go such a long way. But either way, if you are looking to lose fat, get to the next level over the next 90 days, if you have anywhere between 10 and 25 pounds of fat to lose and you want to do that, of course, if you want to lose more, we'll take care of you and get you on the right track. But for the first 90 days, we will guarantee and promise you will lose that fat. You'll feel so much better. You'll build your confidence, your self-esteem. Just make sure to send us a message with the keyword fat loss to our Instagram. We do have a limited amount of spots that we can take on, so we can give you direct one-on-one work, help support you every single step of the way, and just give you that accountability and guidance while keeping a nice and personalized approach. Make sure to send us a message to our Instagram. Once again, Colossus Fit, COLOSSUSFIT, saying fat loss, and we promise and guarantee to take care of you every single step of the way.
Yeah, ask yourself, why can't this be you? Why shouldn't you be this next shout out? Everyone we shout out here probably heard the same call to action that we have to get people launched into coaching, which we put our heart and soul into after 10 years. It works. You see the transformations, and we've really built a system to help anyone succeed in any situation to overcome whatever obstacles are in your way, because it's a custom routine made for you to get you better results faster and safer that you're not only just going to use for the short term, but that you're going to have for the rest of your life. So this is your chance. Stop putting it off for yourself. You deserve to be fit, healthy, and happy, and to reach your full potential and see what you're capable of. And if things aren't moving how you want them to, you got to ask yourself when. It's so easy to say tomorrow or next year, but things will always pop up. And I'm sure you said that yesterday or a year before. So it's really important you do what is best for yourself, which is having someone on your side, a coach on your team to help you see around corners and to succeed in any situation. So once again, to take advantage of this, just go ahead and message us on Instagram with the keyword fat loss for a really special opportunity to get started with our coaching. But now we're going to jump into the mailbox, and we got some really fun questions today. So the first question we have is, what are the best food sources for a bulk to put on a lot of lean muscle? So I don't believe in magic foods. That's the first thing I want to say. There's definitely foods that are more rich in proteins. There are foods that are more rich in proteins and less in fat. There's foods that are just really caloric and dense. There's foods that will have a lot of micronutrients or very specific benefits and unique ingredients. But in general, the total composition of your foods will matter more than what you're actually just in specific food you're eating. Like if someone's hitting their macros perfectly, they'll crush someone who's just eating the most protein rich food all day, every day. Like variety is important. So don't necessarily go thinking they're magic foods, but there are definitely foods that will support muscle gain better in the sense that they have good macros, they have good caloric density, they're yummy to eat, and it can make a lot of sense. So some good examples of this are obviously like chicken. Chicken, of course, is going to be your friend, but it's also a very lean protein, can be very filling. And that's why if you're in a bulk, I do recommend people experiment with turkey, beef, pork, really anything else that is a little bit denser, that isn't too fatty, but that is indeed very high in protein. So this is a fantastic opportunity for you to incorporate some beef and to take advantage. Rice, of course, is really good as well, but it's very filling and not necessarily crazy calorically dense. So you can experiment with some like whole grain pastas. You can experiment with different things there. But in general, like the best plan, in my opinion, for putting on muscle is having really good, dense quality carb sources alongside really good, dense protein sources. And because you're in a surplus, you can afford to have more calories from fats and oils and delicious things. So using good sources like that, obviously oils, avocados, like these are going to be your friends in terms of healthy fat. So those are some of my favorites. A lot of milk products are good too, assuming you're not lactose. And even if you are, there are variations. So your cheeses are really, really good for bulk. Easy calories, like you could just eat slices of cheeses at night. Same with your nuts, all different things like that. I really like Greek yogurt. That's something I personally use quite often. Smoothies is a great way to blend a lot of these favorite things together. When I was in a really, really heavy bulk and I was eating over 5,000 calories, I just have a couple tablespoons of olive oil at night. Not the tastiest, but you can go ahead and actually put that into your smoothie. You can go ahead and use things like peanut butter. Like there's so many good sources there, but in general, like good quality sources are foods that aren't completely like just filled with nonsense and garbage. And where people will go wrong, and like if you think of what a mass gainer is, it's really just a really dense form of a lot of sugars and a lot of protein. And like that's not going to make you feel good. Like you'd be better off having really good carb sources. You can go ahead and up the fruits. You can get a lot of quality carbs from there. Like once again, it's hard because I'm not going to list every single thing, and you might be like, this food I really like wasn't on this list. Is that okay? Likely is. I mean, we know what's good food and bad food, and we always talk about the 80-20 rule. And if you're in a huge bulk and you're a really, really hard gainer, there's nothing wrong with moving that a little bit for a period of time to get that weight on. So instead of 80-20, you could go 70-30, and you could have some fun things. You could eat all your healthy foods, and if you love having 2 Pop-Tarts at night as a snack because you're so light, that could help you put on some carbs and some calories. Obviously not the best quality food in the world, but where you need to be careful with bulking is if you're having way too much density of your food, too many vegetables, too many fibers, it's going to be hard to actually eat the amount of food you need to actually gain that weight, especially as you're adjusting into it. So that's where you can help yourself by using a few fun foods to kind of get you there. And that's where like Pop-Tarts were kind of the golden standard example of this, even though they're a little bit silly, but you can go ahead and incorporate some more of those fun foods to get there. And what you want to avoid, in my opinion, is a full-on dirty bulk. So some people will just pound pizzas, they'll eat anything and everything they can, and their skin will become oily and gross. They'll feel horrible. Their digestion's a mess. Instead, I recommend still aiming to eat good quality food that's going to support your training, help you develop, and then also be sure to incorporate some fun things because you have more luxury. Like if you think of calories like a budget, if you're dieting, you got a really tight budget. You can't afford to go out and buy designer and do these crazy things that aren't necessary. Like you just got to get normal clothes at that point, good clothes that aren't going to break so that you don't have to spend more money later. But if you got a ton of money, you have more ability to kind of do some fun things, to try different things. And dieting is very similar in that sense where it's a diet, maintenance, or bulking. Bulking will give you more maneuverability. A lean bulk in general, I just recommend usually having more quality carb sources, a bit more fruit, and just upping that protein a bit. But for big bulks, definitely you do have more opportunity to have more fun foods. But I'm sure Kyle has a few things to add on.
I like that fruit. I didn't have that on my list, but then I'm thinking, man, that can be a great add-on, right? Just healthy, and that's like one of the things to think about. And this is where I mentioned recently, I don't remember which podcast, but I was saying that this phase can often be the hardest for some people because it's less of like that dialed in. It's more of like sometimes mentally people check out. They're like, okay, well, I'm trying to gain weight. I'm trying to build muscle. All right, give me a bag of chips each day. And cool. All right, there's 700 calories from there. Okay, I'm good to go. And then they just don't take care of their health and they mentally are just in a bit of a different situation versus like a 12 to 16 week shred. And you have to definitely be careful of that for sure. But we have created like a lot of YouTube videos. I know last week we talked about macro hacks and all that great stuff. I have linked down below as well a bunch of different budget friendly bulk foods, some muscle gain foods, some things that we filmed in the grocery store many years ago that still apply to this day. But I will say one of the biggest things that I've especially been applying as I am starting to do a lean bulk leading up until Florida and getting ready for all that stuff is just thinking of where can I add in. So what I mean by that is, for example, I was having, let's say 2,500 calories. Now that I've increased my calories up quite a few hundred, I'm thinking where can I add in just a little bit to not really change my routine, not really start a whole new thing and like change the entire mindset, but just add in an extra 100 calories here and there. And it's been working super well. So for example, I love my Greek yogurt. I'm not going to just start to say, well, I'm going to have bacon and eggs every day and change up this entire routine because I'm bulking and I'm trying to gain muscle. I'm just going to add a tablespoon or two of peanut butter. That's awesome. I'm still getting healthy food. I don't really notice it as much. It does fill me up a little bit more, but by simply keeping the same routine and just adding in a little bit of a couple things here and there has been awesome to even just keep the habit going, keep the routine, consistently hit that protein, still eat super healthy. And I think that's where some people struggle is they just kind of change their mindset and they're like, oh, well, starting to increase calories a bit. Let's fully start fresh. For example, in the afternoon, I would always have Quest chips, but I found that because my protein's higher from regular food, I've actually switched it out and I've started having a couple tablespoons of nuts, which has been fantastic because I have gotten a couple extra 100 calories from it. It's been filling me up. It's been supporting my macronutrient goals, all these different things. So within the meals, I've kept them fairly similar. I've just made a few small changes to help get that increase a little bit while keeping my protein nice and high and still eating super healthy. So that's all I have to share. That's going to be my biggest tip, and I hope that helps in one way or another.
Yeah, and if you're looking to put on muscle and you're bulking, it's important to eat foods you like. Don't just eat avocados because I say they're good and I like them. If you hate them, it's not going to serve you as well as eating things you really enjoy and looking around sources of that. Some people love beef, some people hate it, some people like turkey. Like there's so many different options there, and you got to find what works for you. But the main thing is that you're on a good macro plan to actually facilitate growth, minimize fat, and put on the most muscle possible. And once again, this is something we help out with. And if you want to take advantage of that, even if you're bulking, message us fat loss to Instagram to @ColossusFit, COLOSSUSFIT, and we'll be very happy to get you the success that we have now, over 3,500 people one-on-one with our coaching. Now we're going to jump into our second question. This is from Lilah. We're going to try to get back to just announcing the names of who asked the question. So if you want to ask a question, please send it to us on Instagram. I find it's the best way. We'll add it to our big list. And then each week we we choose the three that we think will kind of fit best together for the question that we're excited to answer. So once again, you can message us that on Instagram, the @ColossusFit, COLOSSUSFIT. If you can't tell already, if you're not following us on Instagram, you're missing out. Lots of good stuff there. Giveaways, transformations, exclusive tips, exclusive kind of like mini episodes of a podcast where we go on this story and kind of talk through things that are happening. You can see forum videos, tips, tricks, everything is on our Instagram, so be sure to make sure you are indeed following there. But our question from Lilah is, How do you know you're mentally getting healthier in your fitness journey and not just physically? Thanks. And I think this is a fun question because I had to think about this one a bit, and I'm still not entirely sure how you know you're fully getting more mentally healthy. But what I think is so awesome, and like even for me, like when you consider the lifter's high or the runner's high, like just one of the best feelings. And even the other day, I just was feeling like sluggish. I went on the treadmill, watched YouTube videos for like an hour, and I just felt like I felt on cloud nine. It was amazing how good I felt. And it brought me back too to like when I was a kid, I used to just like skateboard all day, and then I'd play hockey at night, and I'd play all these other sports. And like it was just so easy to be happy because you're doing so many fun things, using your body how it's meant to be used, you're burning calories. And I think there is such a strong connection to physical health and mental health that I'm not going to say it's going to fix all your problems in the world, but even being in the gym is a great therapy. Being mindful, working on your breathing, working your muscles, being in tune with your body, having a second to step away from everything. Sports are another great example of this. Like when I play volleyball, I'm thinking about nothing but volleyball. There's no other concern. There's no other problem in the world. You're just like, I got to win this set. Same with any other sport. So I think having a good kind of approach to that, having something to look forward to, being able to progress, being able to take care of your body, I think that is a big mental improvement. Also being able to do hard things, to not always need to lean into quick enjoyment, and to always just need to do what makes you feel the best. We spoke to self-love before, like modern definitions of self-love. If I were to do that, I would sleep in, I wouldn't take care of anyone, I wouldn't show up to work, I'd just eat anything I wanted, I'd lay around and watch Netflix all day till I fell asleep, and that'd be my life. Like, but that is not how I want to live, and that's where you need to be careful to kind of look past that. So I think you can tell you're mentally getting healthier by you doing challenging things, by growing, by feeling more optimism and energy, which you will get from seeing your body change and your actual just like blood work change. And we're going to get into this a little bit later too, like some more of the benefits that you can get from lifting that are just not non-scale. But that's kind of how I would answer it in my opinion. What do you have to say, Kyle?
So one thing that, I mean, I have a few things now as I've heard Josh speaking, because you could take this a bunch of different ways in terms of answering it. But I remember seeing one time in the past, there was a fitness coach who shared success for one person may be being able to say no to pizza. For another, it's being able to fit it in and still stay on track. And to me, what I got from that was just that mentally we're in such different places on our fitness journey. I know some people who like, and you use that example, let's say, like there's some people who just can never have flexibility. They can't enjoy anything at all. And then once they come into the program, once they start doing this and start realizing it's not the end of the world, that's like some amazing mental barriers that they're overcoming. Whereas I know a lot of people, when they just say no to something and they just fully block it out, that's another amazing win. And that's the reason I want to bring this up, is because you have to really pay attention to who you are, what type of person you are, and like what challenges you're overcoming. Like Josh had mentioned, like for one person, a win may not be a win for someone else. Like being able to fit that pizza in for someone else who's been struggling with that for so many years, to say no, that may not be a win for them. And it's just such a personal question and something to think about. But I think the easiest way is to just pay attention and like actually fully be present. I know we've gone back to this quite a bit, and Josh was mentioning it earlier on, but the thing that I'm really trying to pay attention to and be aware of is just like how things make me feel. And I can remember probably about thousands of times now I've just been feeling like maybe sluggish or not as great or whatever it is, like, you know, maybe tired. And then just I've always felt 100 times better after getting done some sort of exercise. And so like mentally, it's amazing to just get out there and move your body. And I think that's like always a good reminder, as well as just like paying attention to like what's going on, like when you do go for that walk, when you do that volleyball session, when you hit the gym. So I don't know. That's just kind of like my random thoughts there, is just like being able to pay attention to what's going on, how you're feeling. Maybe even like before a workout, your headspace may not be as clear, and you realize after, like, wow, like your energy's up. Like once again, we are going to talk about more non-scale victories after, but that's just my main answer for that question, and I hope that helps.
Yeah, so let's transition right into that. So I hear you mentioning to weigh in consistently. I find it can discourage me, and I was wondering your logic behind that. And that was from Sarah, and this is a great question. We get asked this a lot. So we've once again been coaching now for over 10 years. Science has shown time and time again, those who weigh in more lose more. And I totally understand it being discouraging. Like, it can be the last thing you want, but a lot of the time, like without kind of being broken first, you're not going to be caused to like repair something. So a lot of people, I think this is a perfect example, is haven't weighed in 6 months. Like I'm probably 180 pounds. And then like, they'll be like, oh, let's check. They'll get on the scale and they'll see 195, and you'll just see like their face just absolutely drop. They feel crushed, and like that blissful ignorance made them feel it was better, but maybe they knew by things not fitting right, going in the wrong direction. But now they're faced with this problem where they've gained 15 pounds, where if you weigh in often, you kind of maintain that 180. We're really good at kind of self-correcting ourselves when we need to. So if you see 182, 183, 184, you're like, I got to be a little bit more aware. And then you have a day where someone offers you a third slice of cake. You're like, no, I'm okay, thank you. Or you feel called to start going to the gym again. And just the same, when you weigh in, you can be aware how food affects you. And people, I think, are really blown away by how much damage can be done in one day. If you consider too, if you're dieting and maybe you're in a deficit of 300-400 calories a day, in one day, it is very easy to go over by 3,000 calories. Like, it's incredibly simple to do, and people would be amazed at how many different ways that could look and how caloric some things actually are. Like if you get a huge ice cream, that can be 1,000 calories. Some Starbucks drinks are almost 1,000 calories. Like you can have a lot of pizza, sauces can be just an insane density of calories. So you can undo a lot of progress in one day and have a false perception that you're doing better than you are. So that's where weighing in and like kind of removing that association between your worth and your weight. Weight is a tool, and it identifies you the position and direction you're tracking in, and that can allow you to react and make the necessary changes. And that's where by weighing in often, you'll see weight will fluctuate like crazy. You'll have low days, you'll have high days, and that's why we personally work off of averages. And I promise you, this is a better way to operate. And the more you can remove that attitude of your worth is only the scale and just focus on that weekly average. And of course, like the other issue too is a lot of people are like kind of wishful optimists, where they'll eat a ton of food and they'll be like, I still feel light and I didn't have my 17th slice of pizza, I only had 16. And then they'll get on the scale and they'll see they're 5 pounds heavier and they'll be crushed. But like, of course you are. If you just had so much extra food, you're going to be heavier. Just the same, if you don't eat all day, you're going to get a really low weigh-in. And that's our other issue. If you only weigh in once a week, you can put so much precedence on that day and starve yourself out the day before, get a low weigh-in, then be horrible, and then kind of rinse and repeat that process. And it can be no indication of where you actually are. So a scale is just a tool. And in extreme situations where people have eating disorders or they do really feel very mentally burdened by the scale, there are ways around that. You can work off of measurements, you can work off of physique photos. These are fine as well, but I think it's a tool and an ability to build yourself up to really deassociate your worth with your weight. Weight is just weight. I've said it before, like if you're 200 pounds as a woman and you look beautiful, you're beautiful. It doesn't matter that you're 200 pounds. No one freaking cares. Like you're a beautiful woman. Just the same, if you're really light and you look muscular and jacked and you're happy how you are, no one's going to go around to a guy and be like, yo, I bet you're 130 pounds. Get on the scale. Like it's just a number. That's all it is. And it's a really good tool to indicate the direction we're moving alongside of other better indications like photos and measurements.
Yeah. And even just jumping right into that, I mean, so spot on. Take notes of that. Think about that for a second. And even just deassociating yourself with the scale is just such a powerful tool. Like just putting the number in the spreadsheet, all of our clients, they see great progress because they're disassociating themselves. We calculate the average, we make the changes necessary, and it'll just give you some really good data. Just look at it as data. But past that, there's so many amazing things to focus on. And I know a lot of people ask us about different types of victories, essentially, like how to track progress, like all that stuff. And I've got a list of 17 things. I'm not going to read that out I'm not going to read that out now as we've shared it before, but there's a lot of things to focus on. And I know I'm getting you to think of a lot of things, as I mentioned, but like what else is happening in your journey aside from that weight loss that's taking place or the whatnot? Like that's great. You know, just spend some time to think about it, because a lot of times people are hard on themselves. They're focused on that one number and they're not paying attention to it. So, you know, your mental health is improving. That's one amazing non-scale victory, kind of working off of that second question. Even just as I was mentioning, like choosing the healthier option. For some people, like going from eating fast food 7 times a week, 3 times a day, whatever it is, to start to choose the healthier option. That's an amazing victory. Josh already mentioned photos, measurements, but even past that, your clothes starting to feel fit better, and feel better at the same time. Doing things that you enjoy more, such as being able to go for a longer hike, keep up with your kids, everyday tasks getting easier for you, your strength is improving, your sleep is improving. your joints don't hurt as much. There are so many things that I really want you to start to think about. So on top of the scale, take these measurement tools, start to apply, start to pay attention to your journey, and you're going to learn a lot about yourself. Like people just don't really think about it as much. They're just like, oh, well, I'm just trying to be healthier, but like they're not paying attention to these other metrics, these other signs, these other tools. And of course, having a coach and having someone by your side give you all this framework, check in with you. We do measurements once a month. We do photos once a month. We do obviously the average weigh-ins, and we monitor so much more strength gains and just everything else like that. And just having someone guide you and even remind you of these things will help pay off so much. And of course, once again, send us a message with the keyword fat loss. We will take care of you, and we can't wait to help some of you awesome people. And whatever else Josh has to say, keep going.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. I think there's a lot of value in here, a lot of things that are very dear to our heart, and a lot of these small level tips are very high level. Like if you can do the small things well, you'll beat anyone who's trying to get too technical or too crazy. So just a good reminder to lean into that. We really hope you did enjoy this episode. Once again, if it's a day for you, have a great day. If it's night, have a great night. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Peace out.